In this video, we're going to learn how to use a scanner object to read console input. So to read input from our user, we don't just want to calculate the area of a circle with radius 20. We want the user to be able to tell us how big the radius is so we can tell them how big the area is. So that's what we're going to look at in here. To do that, to read input from the user, we need to use something called a scanner. And a scanner is an object. We talk about object-oriented programming. So there is a scanner class built into Java whose main job is to sit out in memory and wait for the users to type some input. And then it's going to read that input for us so that we don't have to do it manually. We do not have to write the code that makes the scanner work because that scanner class is provided to us. And we have to create an object from that class. And the way we create that object out in memory so that it can do its work for us is with the keyword new. So we're going to say new, and we're going to say, let's make a new scanner. Okay. Now, when you create a new scanner, it wants to know what kind of scanner you want. So inside parentheses, we're going to tell it we want a system.in scanner. So this creates an object. So that object has things it can do for us, and it sits out in memory and it waits for things to do for us. And all we have to do when we want to get some input from the user is ask the scanner to get some input. Okay. The way we talk to the scanner, though, is through a variable. So when we create this object, if we want to talk to it, we have to give it a name. So over here on the left side, we've created a name. We've created a variable, and we're calling the variable input in this case. Now you remember when we make a variable, we have to tell what the variable is going to hold. What kind of variable is it? When we created a double for the radius and a double for the area, we were saying, hey, this variable is going to hold a double, a number with some decimal places, right? Okay. Well, this variable input is going to hold a scanner. Okay. And the equals is the assignment operator. So we're going to create this object with this part over here, this new scanner system in, out in memory. We just told the compiler to do that. Create a new scanner out in memory and assign it to the variable input. And input is going to hold a reference to a scanner. Okay. So we declared the variable and assigned the object to it. Great. So now we can talk to the scanner when we want to get some information. So we can do something like this, and we're going to see an example of this actually run in a minute. We can do systemout.print. Notice it's print and not print line. Okay. So print prints on the line, but it doesn't move to the next line. So we're going to say enter a double value. So that's going to be printed to the console for the user to see, but it's going to leave the cursor at the end of the line. It's not going to go to a new line because it's not print line, it's just print. Okay. And then here's the line like we saw up here. This creates the scanner. Okay. And remember, we called the scanner input. So when I want to talk to the scanner, I just use its name. Hey, input. And I call dot, and I name a method that scanner has built into it. And scanner has a method to get the next double from a user. Okay. And then we can assign whatever that user puts in. When they do this, we can assign it to a variable. In this case, it's a double called D. This is the variable, and it's going to hold the double that we get from the scanner when it gives us its results. So let's go over here. I've already got a lot of this code typed in. You can type it into your NetBeans editor so you can do it. So right up here, here's my main method. I've created a new scanner object and assigned it to the name input, and input is of type scanner. But you notice something's wrong with that. So remember I said there was a scanner class that Java is providing us? The problem is Java doesn't really know where that's at. Where is that located? So if you look over here on the left, there's a little light bulb. And if I click on it, it gives me some options for how I might fix this problem. We have a red squiggle problem, right? The first one is usually the correct one, but you really do need to read through these. Every time you get a light bulb here, don't just click on it and take the first option. You need to think about what it's doing and why. But I can tell you for scanner, the first option is always this option, add import for java.util.scanner. Okay, and if we click that, before I click it, I'm going to scroll down here because I want you to watch up here in this area. Okay, I'm going to click add import for java.util.scanner. And when I do, it adds this line of code for us up at the top of our Java file. And the red squiggles go away. So what this is, that scanner class is located in a package called java.util. Okay, and this is basically instructions that when the compiler sees it, it says, hey, before you do anything, go out to the Java util package and get the scanner. Okay, because we're going to need it for this file. Okay, so we could have typed this in here by hand, but what I usually do is I create my new scanner and assign it to a variable, and we almost always use the exact same line for scanners. So if you don't really wrap your head around object-oriented programming yet, just know you do this the same way almost every single time. Okay, once you type the line in, you get the light bulb. You click on the light bulb and say add the import, and it types the line for you at the top of your code. Okay, that's the nice thing about having a great editor. So here's our scanner object. Here's our system out, print a number for the radius, or enter a number for the radius. And then here we're asking the scanner, remember we named the scanner input, say, hey, input, get us the next double that the user types. Okay, so this next double with parentheses after it tells the scanner that we want to look for the next double that the user typed. And we're going to assign that to the variable radius. This is no different than the program we saw in the last video. We just said double radius equals 20 in that video, right? And so, but instead of just assigning 20 to the radius, we're going to have the scanner let the user type any number they want to assign it to the radius. This next line is no different. It's going to take whatever the radius is that they typed in, multiply them together times pi, store it in area, and then it's going to print out the same thing it did the first time. So let's run it and see what happens. Enter a number for the radius. And notice when I click down in this window, my cursor is here at the end of the line, not below it. Okay, that's because this statement was a print, not a print line, so the cursor stayed up on the same line, which is a user-friendly thing to do. Enter number for the radius. Let's do 5. 5 times 5 times pi. The area for the circle with a radius of 5.0. Remember, it's a double, so we typed in a 5 and it changed it to a 5.0 for us. So 5 times pi is 78.53975. Okay. Total time 25 seconds, and most of that 25 seconds wasn't calculations, it was me talking to you. All right, one other thing I want to point out is that there's another way to do the imports. Remember, we had java.util.scanner, we had import java.util.scanner because we wanted to import the scanner package. Now, the Java util package has a lot of things in it. If we want to, we can say import java.util. and use an asterisk. And that imports all the classes in the Java util package into our project and makes them available to us. So if I go back here and change my import to asterisk, everything will still work. Okay, because it's importing all the possible classes from Java util. Well, at least all of them that it finds in our code, it imports them. Now, which way is the best to do it? You might think, well, if I just do this, I don't have to type quite as much, right? I don't have to type scanner. Okay. But you're also not being very specific. So another programmer looking at your code might say, oh, they're using something out of Java util, but I don't exactly know what. And to figure it out, I'm going to have to go down and read all their code. And this is a short program, but in a log program, it might be hard to find out what they're using out of java.util. Okay. So I personally think it's best to tell what package you're, or what class you're importing. And that's great up till you get 3 or 4 or 5 packages, and those start getting really long. If you're using a bunch of things out of Java util, then maybe use the star. But if you're using 1 or 2, I think it's better to actually name them when you import them. And that's another one of those internet argument things. Some people like it one way, some people like it the other. I go with naming them individually unless you're going to be using a bunch of them, and then you can use the asterisk. That would be my recommendation.